Alright guys, I'm going to teach you how to do some string height. Now, I finally figured out how to get a better camera angle, so that's what I'm doing. So first of all, let's talk about what you need. The first thing that you need in order to be able to do this in the first place are some sets of Allen keys. These are, if you're not familiar with Allen keys, the Allen key is actually a brand name. These are, I believe, metric keys, or hex keys, I don't know. Allen keys is what I call them. I live in the US. Another thing you'll need is a quarter, just a quarter, and the light that you can turn on and off to see better, and preferably one that you can move around just so that if you need to adjust you can. Actually, I'm going to adjust, and that's perfect. So first, with string height, usually you have some buzz. I have some buzz. And I just got a new neck. Oh, sorry about that, actually. But I just got a new neck, and so I do have to do some string height. What I do is I take the quarter, pull it closer, you slide the quarter under the 12th fret, under the string on the 12th fret. Now, don't do it on the fretboard, because that doesn't do anything, because when the string touches, you don't even have to be touching the fretboard, it touches the frets. So you put it under, and it should just slide under just barely, and this one hits it first, so that means it has to be raised. And so you just keep going on. I do think another way to tell, especially for the inner strings, is you put it under, put it probably center, and just tap on it. If you hear a noise, it may be too high, or if you have trouble putting it under, obviously, that means it's too low. So obviously from the buzz, it's too low, and I'm trying to do this so that you can get an angle, but it's way too low. It's hitting it like crazy. So let's raise that. Now, when you get some of these sets, you're usually going to need the bottom and the smallest one. This tells me that it's a 1/16. I don't know if you can read that. It's a 1/16. So let's try this. Now, I know this is going to work because I use this all the time. I do also know that some of these saddles, the adjustments, are some of them stripped out. So this might suck, this might not work at all. We're just going to have to try it. So I know I have to raise it probably about, you don't need to see this, probably about a whole turn. Now when I say a whole turn, I mean that it's going to start in one position. Let's get it to catch. And it's going to go, let's see. See, it is, this one's stripped. So it's facing me. Let's get it to completely turn facing me again. That's a whole turn. Now, just because I did it on one doesn't mean that I'm done. I have to do it on both sides. You always want to make whatever you do equal on both sides. So you really have to try and do this at an equal point. So let's try it again. I did a whole turn on both saddles. So let's see. It's still hitting a little bit. You can hear it. I don't know if you can. I can. So let's try this again. Now I think it'll be about a half turn. So what that'll be is okay, so what I have to do, because it's stripped, if yours are stripped, what you might have to do is you might have to hold it down with this one, make sure it catches, and turn it. So it's going to be a half a turn. So it was facing me, now it's facing away from me. And oops. Now, like I said, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on both. You kind of have to be OCD about this. So let's try that again. That's still a little bit, so if you have just a little bit, the best bet is to do a quarter turn. Now just follow the simple things. It's simple math-ish. So this is 1, this is a quarter, this is half, and 75%, and then a full. So let's just do a quarter, and then you did a catch, remember that, and then a quarter. So let's try one more time. Hope it worked, and it's perfect. It's sliding perfectly under. Oh no, like I said, halfway. No noise. It's perfect. It's gonna play just fine. So I'm going to check for buzz later, but I'm going to try to set up the whole thing. Also, when you're doing a string height adjustment, you want to make sure your neck, the angle of it, make sure that it's totally straight. Either straight or with a little bit of relief. Now what relief means is, so the neck can be straight. Let's say my hand is the neck. Sometimes what happens is if you get it, let's say you get yours overseas, the weather affects wood. Just like it does any other way, it affects wood. And it warps, and like some make carbon fiber necks. Those are really nice, actually. I really love those. But it'll warp. So usually if you get them overseas, the neck goes straight and then bows upwards, which means around the 12th to the 7th fret, it goes upwards. Now, that's how you get major fret buzz. That's usually the first thing. Now, if you do have fret buzz, I'm teaching how to do string height, not fret buzz. What you got to do is you got to get a straight edge, just a really long ruler that can go from the 1st fret to, this is a 22 fret, so I'd say about, let's say, this is the 19th. I would say around the 19th or the 17th, because that's where the truss rod ends. Some necks are different, but this is usually where the truss rod ends. It does not all go to the end of the neck. So just one to there, or if you have a good eyesight, I've been looking down necks for a couple years now, so I know what works and what isn't. You can tell if it's straight, or you can tell if it has a bow, or if it has relief. Now with relief, a good way to tell is by this. You grab the 17th fret, the 1st fret, and then you look at the 7th fret, right on the fret, and there should be just enough space to put about a playing card. That's about your max, like how straight you want it. It should not be touching it at all. But if you have relief, there should be a little more space. Let's say a piece of construction paper, or maybe 2 pieces of construction paper. That's how you tell relief. But usually, if you play any kind of shred, any kind of jazz, you want it to be straight so that the strings are equal across the whole fretboard. It's the same height across the whole fretboard. That's how I like it. That's how I'm setting this up. So I did the E string. So let's try to do this E string. Now I showed you it before. It is a little, you see it hits it right away. You can see the string moves. Shouldn't move like this one. Doesn't move at all. Does not move whatsoever. And yes, I do need to change strings, but I'm doing this now because I do have to change the nut later, and I'd rather change strings then. So it's just hitting it, so I'm gonna do about a half a turn on both of them. So let's do this. Alright, so it's facing me. That's about a half a turn. Let's do this again. Alright, it's not catching. I think this one's stripped too. Give me a second. You see, I'm changing this bridge just because this has bothered me. Alright, so it's facing me again. Get it away. There, half a turn. Now let's check. And you want to make sure you never lose this key. This is the 1/16 Allen key. That's what I'm just going to call it, Allen key. And you want to make sure you never lose this. I have about 4 of these, and I have the pack just in case I need it. The one that I use for the truss rod is usually the 1/8 or the 5/32. So Let's try this again, see if it fixed itself. And it's just hitting a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just under a quarter. Actually, I am going to do a quarter. Let's do a quarter turn. Quarter turn. Let's try this again. Ah, that was perfect. So now, I showed you the 2 outer strings. Now the 4 inner strings are all going to be the same. Sorry, I can't see what angle you guys can see at. The 4 inner strings, you're all going to adjust the same exact way, but I do a little trick. You can still use the quarter. This is at home style. You know, they do sell measurement keys and you know, under the string measurements, and they sell those rulers. I'd rather do it by the player. I do it, I'm a luthier. I set up a lot of guitars for a lot of people. I set them up for the player. Not. In no way do I set it up usually to standards. This is my Fender Strat. Like I said, I changed the neck. There's no Fender on it. This is my Fender Strat, and I want it to be set up to Fender specs. Every guitar, including Fender, including Music Man, Gibson, Ibanez, they all set it up for at the 12th fret, it's a certain height. That height ends up being the width of a quarter. I've used this quarter on probably over 10 guitars because I just want to see how far I can get with it. So I don't need special measurements because this is my measurement. And you know, if you don't have any quarters, just go break $1 or something. So what you're going to do when you're setting up the next string, I do believe this one is set up, the A string is set up pretty fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide it right under. Make sure it goes under. Because you can't do really the same thing where you see if it hits. What I do is I tap. It does move a little bit, so it might be high. But when I'm putting it under, you have to, it's really hard to see, but you really have to do it. You have to make sure it's level with the fret. And it does slide pretty fine under. I'm not worried about it, so I don't think I'll change it. I think all the strings inside will be the same, but let's just keep trying. Perfectly fine. Let's try the G string. That one I think is actually a little low. Not worried about it, like I said. There we go, B string. So the B string is a little low, the quarter's hitting it. I really can't tell if you can see that, but it is hitting it a little bit. So I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna do is a quarter turn. Sorry, I'm very tired. So I left the quarter in there just for convenience. You can take it out, you can do whatever you want. I don't really care. So it was the B string. So I can tell this is actually pretty low by looking at the saddles. It should be a complete arc. It should match the curve of the fretboard. That's why you go under every string. They're never going to be perfectly flat unless you have, let's say, a Floyd Rose style. And even then, they usually make their necks pretty flat, so it shouldn't even be a problem. So quarter turn. This one is definitely stripped. Yeah, just get yourself some new saddles if they're stripped. I wouldn't try to bug with them like I am. So let's try it again. It still is a little bit. I took it out this time. Well, that reminds me. Whenever you're working on a guitar, you want it to have it on a soft surface. I do it on my bed. I sit on an old practice amp just to sit on it. You can use a towel, you can use a blanket. Like I said, I'm using a blanket. They sell mats, like yoga mats. They're actually pretty perfect. I want to start using those. But still giving me a little bit of trouble here. So let's do one more half turn. Half. Let's try it again. I'm going to go in through this side because it's only the B string. And that's pretty fine. Now, I guess a way you can do it, I don't do it this way, is you put your finger on the string. I just thought of this right now. Put your finger on the string, and if it moves when you're putting it up, then I guess you have to adjust it. I guess I do have to adjust some of these strings, might as well, right? Yeah. But I'm assuming you don't need to see that. So that's how you adjust your string height. But when you have fret buzz, always check the neck angle. When I first started working on guitars, I messed with the string height like crazy. Couldn't get an answer. It was like a mile off the fretboard and I still got buzz. And I decided to look down the neck and I saw that it had the craziest arc. So I fixed that and I was able to drop it down like crazy and it felt so much better to play. This happens to a lot of people who play, let's say, tremolo styles, Floyd Rose styles. I have an Ibanez that has the Ibanez Edge series. Tremolo, and I had so much trouble with fret buzz, and I worked on the damn thing for weeks, and then I looked down the neck for one day and I realized that it was all awful and it was really bad. Now the reason I have this problem is because I buy a lot of used guitars. This is a used guitar, my Ibanez is a used. I only have 2 brand new guitars, one's a bass and one's an acoustic. And usually those you only have to adjust if you're changing the string gauge. This one I use 52 to 10. That's the skinny top, heavy bottom Ernie Ball series. And so you shouldn't really have to adjust it. But I buy used guitars just because I like the satisfaction of making them better. Like I said, I changed the neck. It was a rosewood before. I'm changing it to a maple. I put some Spurzell locking tuners. Shout out to them. These are great tuners. And I'm changing all the hardware to gold. And I'm actually putting DiMarzio pickups in here sooner or later. But I'll do a review on the neck later because it is a superb neck. But like I said, always check the neck for fret buzz, and for changing the string height or adjusting it, might I say, you want to use the 1/16 Allen key, which is usually the smallest you can buy. Like I said, I bought this set, might have been $5, I don't know, I've had this for years, I have 2 of them actually, and then just a quarter. No fancy measurements, no nothing, just a quarter. It's as easy as that. You just need some patience, it'll take a while. Like I said, if it's stripped, it's going to be a pain. Most bridges, you know, have the same adjustments. If they don't, they usually come with an Allen key. Music Man, I do believe, comes with a different one. It comes with a different size Allen key. And that's what I have to use. I have to save that one. So that should be all you need. Leave a comment for any questions. Message me. Do whatever you want. But that's how you adjust your string height. So hope that helped you guys. I'll see you later.